What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, checking out the Arcane Design Plexus. And this one came to me by way of the Apex Pass Around group. So after I wrap up with it, I'll be passing this along to Miguel EDC. So be sure you're subscribed to him to hear his thoughts on this knife. Now, the Plexus is a collaboration between Israel at Arcane Design and the late Elijah Isham. And I'm so glad they had the opportunity to collab on this design, because when I think of sci-fi, futuristic inspired knife designs, those are the first two names and almost the only two names that come to mind. And so even though they're both sci-fi inspired, they both have their own really unique take on it as well. Where Israel's designs are more mechanical feeling, almost these aggressive lines. I think he described them as brutal lines when he was on the Just a Tip live stream. But his are more kind of those aggressive looks to it, whereas Elijah's are almost more organic feeling and have this smooth, natural flow to the lines. And they come together in this design for just an absolutely wicked blade. I think it looks great. I love that you can see both of their design inspirations in the design. You can pick out certain parts that are definitely more Israel and certain parts that are definitely more Elijah. And so love that aspect of it. I'm a big fan of both these designers, so really love how this one turned out, and it feels excellent in hand as well. Now, as much as I'm a fan of this design, I didn't pick one up when these dropped, and I still don't have one yet. And that's really just because the funds never really aligned with the availability. This is still available, and I do hope to pick one up at some point. These start at $400, which is definitely the type of knife that you need to plan for, a big part of why I don't have one yet. But again, now that I've handled one, just kind of confirms that I would love to own one of these at some point. Available in a bunch of different finishes. So I think this exact configuration with the purple accents and that satin finish is $410. So not a whole lot more than the base model price. They can go up a decent bit from there depending on the finishing on the handles. If you get the Zircuti or a Damascus version, obviously that's going to drive the price up a little bit more. Now, when it comes to Israel's designs, I think he prefers a larger knife design just based off of all of his other knives that I have in my collection, the exception being the Praetheon, which is a little bit on the more smaller, more manageable side, but all of the rest of his designs tend to be larger, and this definitely falls in that category as well at 8.3 inches overall. Also weighs in at a whopping 5.63 ounces. Now, I know that sounds pretty heavy, and it definitely is. It feels really well balanced. You're getting this thick slab of titanium and Magnacut and just a beast of a knife overall. The handle here is a little bit over ½ an inch thick, so really beefy, fills out the hand very nicely. And the blade actually is deceivingly thick. So it has these beautiful compound grinds. We have the hollow grind on the belly, flat grind up at the tip, really thickens up the tip, gives you a nice pokey but stout tip that you don't have to worry about breaking off. And this beautiful swedge in the back, and it really hides how thick this blade really is. Slab of Magnacut steel, and it is 0.16 inches at that thickest point there. And so that wouldn't be immediately obvious, but that is pretty beefy for a folder. Japanese Tanto style blade, really great looking, fits the handle very well. 3.56 inches on that blade. You'll also notice that we have this groove in here, this opening that you can use as a secondary deployment method. I really haven't gotten it down. You'll see that there's not a ton of access in the closed position, but I have seen people that were able to flick that open. So I'm sure with enough practice, you can figure out where your finger needs to be placed to use that as a secondary deployment method. I've mainly just been using that flipper tab though. Our handles are 4.7 inches long, so plenty of real estate for a full 4-finger grip. And these handles feel like they fit my hand like a glove. Absolutely perfect fit, no hot spots. I think a big part of that is just how thick they are, but the pocket clip is hidden behind my knuckles. Jimping is perfectly placed, pretty subtle, but nice and grabby. I don't have any slippage whatsoever, but it also doesn't feel super aggressive. So just really nicely applied jimping there, and it feels great in my hand. We have a frame lock with a steel lock bar insert on there, cage ball bearing, so excellent action on here, almost a hydraulic feel to the close, and excellent acoustics. I'll let it close and I'll stop talking. Excellent acoustics on there. I think a big part of that's the weightiness of the blade hitting all of that titanium. but it just sounds so crisp and clean. Really great. We have that flipper tab deployment, and that's one of my only nitpicks with this design. I guess I have some really minor ones outside of that, but my biggest would be with that flipper tab. It's just a little bit short, especially compared to some of his other designs. Once you're paying attention, it's pretty hard to miss it. Very easy to actuate, great detent on here. It works really well, but if you're not paying attention, because it's so short, it's really easy to just slide right past it. The jimping here isn't nearly as aggressive as the jimping on the spine of the knife, so not ultra grabby. It definitely works very well. As you can see, I have no issues slipping that open very consistently, but I have to be paying attention to it because of its shorter nature. If it were just, you know, one jimp longer, it looks like there's 3 jimps on that flipper tab. One jimp longer, whatever that equates to, 0.5 millimeter longer, I think you'd have a little bit better access to it. It would be a little bit more natural, where you can flip it consistently without having to look or pay attention to where your finger is placed on that flipper tab. So that's my only real minor critique of this. Otherwise, this feels great in hand. It's pretty hefty. It weighs your pocket down for sure, but it feels so light and well balanced in your hand. Just really great design in that aspect. And then we have this milled pocket clip. He always does a great job with his pocket clips. Accents match the pocket clip, so we have that same purple anodization on it. Pocket clip is titanium, really easy to slide in and out of the pocket. He does a great job with his pocket clips. The one downside here is that this is not reversible for left-hand carry, so right hand tip up only, and I don't believe that he offers lefty models. I may be mistaken, so apologies if I am, but I don't think I've seen him offering lefty models at shows or anything like that. And so with the non-reversible pocket clip, that is definitely a little bit of a bummer. I know the frame lock isn't super lefty friendly anyway, so reversible may not be the go-to move, but it would be nice to have a lefty version of this. Now, I know I mentioned some minor nitpicks. That was definitely one of them. For me, non-issue. I'm right-handed, but would be nice to see the lefties getting some love there. Now, the only other minor nitpick I have is on this wedge. So looks beautiful, it's great, but it is a little bit sharp on the edges. I think I would have preferred it be knocked back a little bit so it's not so aggressive. When you're just kind of sliding your hand past it, it is kind of grabby. It's not obviously sharp enough to cut you or anything like that, but it is super grabby. I feel like you could probably spark a ferro rod with this even. It's so aggressively sharp, and so wouldn't mind seeing that knocked back a little bit, but it is on cage ball bearings. The action on it's perfect. Like I said, the detent is perfect. I just wish I had a little bit more flipper tab to get behind it. Love the acoustics on this thing, and overall I think a really solid design. Like I said, now that I have it in hand, just can kind of confirm that I'd like to add this to my collection at some point. But huge fan of this. Did want to share the packaging. Not something I usually share in my videos unless it's extremely well done. In this case, he has such an eye for design. If you've ever seen one of his booths, any of his products, they're also recognizable, and does a great job on the packaging as well. We get this drawer with a window up top and a little ribbon to pull that out. And inside we have this hard cut, or this hard shell case. And so you get a certificate of authenticity, a sticker with each of them, and then this hard shell case with this laser cut square in there for your knife as well. And these come with each of his knives, keep them nice and protected, a lot more robust than most of your knife cases. One of the few that I actually typically tend to save just in case. I don't keep the drawer, it just takes up a little bit more space, but I do hold on to like the certificate of authenticity and the cases themselves. I'm not going to try pulling it out. I'll just show it here. So you can see what we have here is the Plexus, has that 6AL4V titanium. I don't even know if I mentioned that. Beautiful titanium in here on both the handle and those inserts, and dyes purple. But grade 5 titanium there. Magnacut blade also available in Damasteel, but he underlines which one you have. The finishes are satin and gray. There's this beautiful stonewash version with the stonewash blade. That's probably the version I would end up getting, still in purple, but probably the version I'd end up getting if I grabbed it. You can see it was inspected by him, he signed it there, and then this one is 12/1/2023. And so that's it for this one. I would love to hear your thoughts on this knife down in the comments below. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of both these designers. Obviously, Elijah Isham is no longer with us, so I would love to grab more of his designs while they're still available and just kind of show off some of his work, because he's had such a unique design language to his designs. But again, appreciate you checking it out. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the channel as a member. All help the channel out a ton. And as always, hope you have a great one. Take care.